Hello again, and welcome to Story Time with Nana Lynn and Glow. Today we're going to continue in our book, Another's Treasure, and I'm going to try to get up 3 more chapters today. So if you're waiting for the entire book to be out, we have to go for 10 more chapters. Chapter 34 is our last chapter, and we're on 24. So without any further delays, let's just get right to it and get it done. Elizabeth stared at Billy as she tried to make sense of what he just shared. Were they going through all of this for nothing? But why would he leave the riddle behind if there wasn't a reason to? Mary asked. He got sick right after that, Billy said. Maybe he never had the chance to get rid of the riddle. Billy's forehead wrinkled in thought. Do you know how Anita found out about this treasure? She found a letter in the family Bible, Elizabeth said. The letter told her about the treasure and contained the riddle. If this letter was so important, would Warren have taken a chance his daughter would stumble across it in a Bible? Well, that really does seem strange, doesn't it? Mary asked slowly. She frowned at Billy. Did you notice anything odd about Warren toward the end of his life? We were told he was having problems with dementia. Billy nodded. He would forget things he already told me, get confused. I could tell he was struggling. Martha let out a deep sigh. This is exactly what I've been afraid of, that this whole treasure hunt is bogus. She shook her head. Excuse me. Did Warren happen to mention whether or not he told Anita that he'd sold whatever it was? I'm sure he didn't. In fact, I wondered more than once whether I should mention it to her. In the end, I decided to mind my own business. I hope that wasn't a mistake. I don't suppose you know where he sold it, do you? Elizabeth asked. No. He mentioned going to Lancaster. I suspect he took it there since it's larger there than more places interested in buying antiques. But something doesn't make sense, Elizabeth said. If this item was really so valuable, why wouldn't Warren take it to auction? And why doesn't Anita have any money now? Why does she need to live off what we sold in the store? You're right, Mary said. That is confusing. He couldn't have changed his mind, Martha said, because he paid you, Billy, so he had money, right? He nodded. But maybe we're talking about 2 different things here. I mean, would Warren really tell me that he had something extremely valuable? We weren't close. I barely knew him. Mary nodded. That must be it. Whatever he sold to pay you isn't the treasure he told Anita about. How could it be? He told her the item was worth more than everything else put together. Maybe. Elizabeth rubbed her forehead. The situation with Anita was already stressful, and now they had another rabbit trail to follow. So what should we do? Martha asked. Tell Anita that what Billy said and see if she knows about it? If she does, we're still looking for whatever Warren wanted her to find. If not, we might be telling her the treasure's gone, Mary said. Martha grunted, and the money Warren got from it as well. Not really a conversation I want to have with her. Well, me either, Elizabeth said. Maybe we should just keep this to ourselves. Let me research the sword first and see if I can find out anything about it. If it turns out to be worth a lot of money, we've solved the riddle. But that still doesn't give it to Anita. Martha pointed out once again. I'm aware of that. Anita might be angry about it, but at some point she needs to take responsibility for her own actions. She's the one who gave it to us and told us to sell it. Frankly, I'm about at the end of my rope. Elizabeth realized she had raised her voice without meaning to. I'm sorry, she said to Billy. We've been dealing with this since Monday, the first day we officially opened. It's been very difficult. If I can help to do anything, well, thank you, but I doubt you can. If you remember anything else Warren might have said that could have something to do with this, will you let us know? Of course, but right now I can't think of anything. We really didn't talk much. Well, if I feel the need, is it okay if I tell Anita what you told us? Billy nodded. Of course, I'm not trying to hide it. At the time, I just felt I should stay out of it. Which was wise. Trust us, Martha said, making a face. Well, let's change the subject, Mary said forcefully. I thought we'd agreed we would take a break from all this riddle business. I'm tired of thinking about it. Excuse me. I agree, Martha said rather charitably. Elizabeth thought, after all, Mary was the one who'd brought up the subject in the first place. How about more roast, Billy? He smiled and shook his head. Thank you, but I think I'll save some room for dessert if it's okay. It's fine. Is everybody ready now? Billy paused for a moment before answering. I wonder if I could ask you ladies a favor. Sure, Mary said. What is it? Well, I know when we were growing up, everyone called me Billy. But, well, now I actually prefer to go by Bill. Would it be an imposition to ask you to call me Bill? I feel like a little kid around y'all when you call me Billy. Oh, it's my fault, Elizabeth said, embarrassed. I didn't know. I mean, I've always called you Billy. Why didn't you say something? When your mother was sick? He shook his head. I couldn't do that. And it's all right, really. Not a big deal. It's just... Although he didn't say anything else, Elizabeth saw him sneak a look at Mary. It was probably even harder being called by a nickname he associated with his childhood, a boy's name, when he was interested in a woman. Actually, Elizabeth found it endearing. She already loved Billy like a brother, and this made her appreciate him even more. She picked up her clean dinner knife, walked around the table, and touched it to his shoulders. I dub you Sir Bill, never more to be known as Billy. Everybody laughed and she went back to her seat. So, Bill, Martha said, dessert now or later? He shrugged. Either way's fine with me. What does everyone else want? I think we should have dessert now, Mary said, so we have plenty of time for, I'm sorry. Did you have something planned? Bill said. Elizabeth nodded. We do. She cleared her throat, surprised to find herself feeling emotional. Bill, we have something for you, something we hope you'll like. But if you don't want them, please let us know. The last thing we want to do is to make you feel obligated. Oh, for crying out loud, Mary said, interrupting. We'd like to give you our father's tools. Since you worked with him so often, we thought you might like to have them. Although Elizabeth was miffed that Mary had taken over and told him about the tools, the expression on his face chased away any annoyance. His mouth had dropped open, and his eyes were wide with surprise. What? Are you sure? What if you need them? Mary laughed. We don't need Daddy's old tools. We have you. Elizabeth sighed. No strings attached, Bill. That's not what I meant, Mary said. I mean that you are the person we call when we need something fixed. Why do we need those tools? Well, I'm beyond touched, Bill said, his voice husky. And it would be an honor to own your father's tools. Thank you so much. We're glad, Elizabeth said. They're a little too heavy for us to carry upstairs. Maybe you could get them? Doesn't have to be tonight, whenever it's convenient. I'd be happy to do that, he grinned at Martha. Maybe after your delicious dessert? How do you know it's delicious? Martha asked. You don't even know what it is yet. Bill chuckled. Everything you make is delicious. It's a pretty sure bet that this will too. It's her caramel apple pie, Mary whispered loudly. It's terrible. I'll eat your piece if you want me to. From the goodness of my heart. Oh, no way, he said, laughing. I think you're lying. Mary tried to look innocent. I would never do that. Oh, sure, Martha said, just like the time you told me Mama's raisin cookies had bugs, so I wouldn't touch them. I was 8 years old, Mary said, shaking his head. Are you ever going to let me forget that? Not likely. Martha got up and went to the counter for the pie, still warm from the oven. How about some ice cream with your pie? She asked Bill, who was clearly amused by the exchange between Martha and Mary. Yes, please. How about you, Lizzie? I would love some, but can I take it with me? She smiled at Bill. I apologize, but I have some work to do tonight. Research on a sword that Warren Smucker owned. Right now, it's in the lead in terms of our prospects for something possibly valuable. Maybe I can prove it either way. Sure, don't worry about it, Bill said. I'm sure I'll be fine out here. Martha put a plate with pie and ice cream in front of him. You'll have to excuse me, too, I'm afraid. I haven't gone over the receipts from today. Bill looked down and stabbed his pie, not saying anything. It was clear he was embarrassed. Mary put her hand on his arm. We'll be fine. Let's have dessert, and then we can take a look through our DVDs. I'll bet we can find a movie we both like. Is that okay with you, Bill? He raised his head and looked at her. Whatever he saw in her face seemed to relax him. He nodded. Sure, that sounds great. I haven't seen a really good movie in a while. Then it's settled. Martha handed plates of pie and ice cream to Mary and Elizabeth. Thanks for coming over, Elizabeth said to Bill. Sorry about having to scoot out early. I hope you'll come back when Martha and I don't have to work. I'd love to, he said. Anytime. As Elizabeth left the kitchen, she snuck a quick look back at Bill and Mary. What she saw on their faces made her smile. Well, that's the end of chapter 24. So I will see you in the next video where we'll try to find some more stuff going on and see if we can get to the bottom of this riddle.